Good morning, everybody. We're live. Got a good topic today. We're going to let everybody join in. Today we're going to be talking about relationship with your dog and how important the relationship is. And I'm going to dive into that and break down, well, what is a relationship and how is it created and how can it be, how can you make the best? What are we looking to do? Plus, I'm going to get into teaching how to live with your dog so that every day your dog gets better instead of every day your dog gets worse. We're going to try to live a lifestyle where every day, if our dog is struggling, they're going to get a little bit better. Okay? Because that's what we do here at Board and Trained. It's an incremental thing. We see the dog change every day. They're headed in the right direction. Okay? So, I need somebody to hold me accountable. Keep me on my topics. Today, we're going to talk about relationship first because this matters. I'm going to give you an insight of how dogs play their owners, and how dogs can learn to manipulate the situation and how that's a relationship issue and how we can solve that, how we can identify that, all this good stuff. So somebody remind me that's what we're talking about. And then after that, this is the part I'm really going to need help remembering. I want to talk about creating a default day that's set up to make your dog a little better every day. Okay, I'm going to tell you how to do that too. Those are the two topics. So good morning and thanks for joining, everybody. It's Wednesday. It's another kind of cloudy, rainy morning. It's perfect time for this. All the dogs have had breakfast. All the dogs have been out. Jesse is being dropped off at his grandmother's, and I'm here with you. So, okay, I'm going to present you a question. This is all about relationship, this first part. Why is it that dogs listen better to some people than others? I mean, that's a serious question. It's a good question to ask. Why? Why is it? Or even better, why would a dog listen to a trainer better than their owners? This is something to really think about if you're a dog owner who's struggling. Really wonder why the dog will listen for this person but doesn't listen to me, right? Or this is something to really think about. And what it comes down is relationship. And I know I'm going to dive into I'm going to explain to you what your relationship is, okay? Because relationship, what it is. This is what a relationship is. A relationship is all of your past experiences with that dog. That's your relationship. That's the association the dog has to you. So the thing is, what did they look like? You know what I mean? What did the past experiences look like leading up to this moment where you're now realizing you have a relationship issue because your dog's not listening to you or taking you as seriously as needed when you need them to? What happened in the past to lead the dog to believe that they shouldn't be paying attention to you like this? And what happened in this other relationship where the dog listens? What happened in that relationship, the whole relationship, up to this point now, the present, where the dog's listening to this person when asked and not another person? So, listen, dogs are gamblers, okay? Dogs primarily want to do what's fun, That's usually what a dog wants to do. They want to do what they want to do, and they will gamble. And they will sit and they will think, what are the odds? And if they're in a room with a person that they think the odds of them actually receiving a punishment for bad behavior are low, or even if I do get a consequence, it's not one I really care about, then that dog's going to act crazy and going to do what it wants. It's going to gamble. It'll pick and choose what it thinks it can get away with. If it's in a room with somebody that it believes that it's, the person, if they disagree with it, they're going to follow through in a way that's effective, the dog probably will stop gambling, okay? So you get a dog who's sometimes good, like you put him on the place bed, right? And then you leave the room and he's sneaking off the bed and sneaking back on the bed and all this kind of stuff. This is a dog gambling. And the way they make their decision is what's happened in the past, right? So the past 20 times I stepped off the bed, how many times did I get a correction? And how bad was the correction? The dog remembers this, right? So then in the present moment, when you have guests over and you're hoping your dog stays on the bed, the dog is going to gamble. It's going to want to get off the bed, so it's going to think, what are the odds that they're going to do something? This is how dogs operate. The reason why it's better with a trainer isn't just because the trainer is skilled, even though that is part of it. It's also because they don't have any history. They don't have any history. I'll answer questions in a minute too, so don't think I'm not ignoring you guys. So we get to form a new history, and we're paid to form a relationship where it's like the dog listens to us. So it's not so much that we have these special abilities that nobody else has. A lot of it is that the dog doesn't have any history, so we get it easier in that way. Where it's more difficult for a trainer is the dog doesn't know you at all, so you got to build trust and respect, right? Now, why it's harder for the owners, because sometimes they have years of experiences where now they just believe a certain way about their owner in this relationship. Like my relationship with my owner, they're a pushover. Now the owner has to go and work harder to prove. That's why they have to have all these little disagreements with their dogs for all these little things, so they can change the way the dog views them, so they can start to get that healthy balance, because it's already skewed. It's like way up here, the unhealthy associations. So literally, not just to the owner either. When a dog goes home, they're in their old living room, and so they need to be. You need to live with them in the way that they were in training for a while, so that they get corrected for all this nonsense, so that they can change the way they view their home too. And that usually takes a week or two. You know what I mean? Longer if it's a dog who has, more severe issues. But so the relationship matters, okay? And here's why: because if you're trying to talk to your dog and ask it to do something, it becomes increasingly more difficult and annoying if the relationship's off. And it does come down to relationship. It's just how it is, okay? So that's why we always say, it's if you're having trouble, even though the training's there, and you see that the dog does good with another person, maybe it does better with the husband or the wife, or it does better with the trainer, but you're struggling with the dog. If you see that other people aren't struggling with the dog, then the answer is it's a relationship issue. And it's a hard one to hear, because it sounds like abstract. Like, what does that mean? I just told you what it means. Your history has led the dog to believe that you're a pushover, or whatever your problem is, whatever the association is. The most common one is that the dog doesn't have enough respect for you. They have trust. Okay? They know you're not going to harm them. You feed them, you give them a place to sleep. They trust you. They just don't respect you enough. And if you think that it's the commands, like keep going and doing the commands, I want to give you a productive way. That's the second part of this, to get your dog better every day, meaning not only better in the house where they respect your living room and the commands in your living room, but also they respect you, because you're not just, there's a lot of time in the day that you spend with your dogs that you're probably wasting, right? If you're struggling with your dog, there's things that you can be doing. It doesn't take a lot of time to send a message to a dog and to get them better every day. But here's how you want to do it, okay? First things first, we need to make sure the dog's not having any unwanted experiences. We don't want them practicing bad behaviors, okay? Can we all agree on this? Everybody says yes, okay? And then I'm going to be the big bad guy that say crate or kennel. Because if we put our dog in this box, as soon as we walk away, as long as we've taken care of the nonsense in the crate, that's a step two. If your dog's bad in the crate, you got to get them good in the crate. So that when they're in there, guess what? They're not taking in any unwanted information. They're not forming a belief system on their own. They're not deepening and patterning bad behaviors. They're relaxing. It is a place where that the dog can relax and nothing unwanted is entering that brain during this process of getting our dog rewired, right? Now, when we take the dog out of that kennel, this is how it should go. And this is because you're living with a dog long term. I'm not setting this up like a training program. The dog's going to live a somewhat normal life, but you're going to give it a learning lesson every time it's out of that kennel. So basically, bring the dog out of the kennel, let them use the bathroom, make sure they're good when it comes to their needs like that. Bathroom, water, food. Okay, I imagine everybody can do that. But when it's out, the objective is, maybe we'll go do something with each other. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll get our exercise and all that. But while we're out, I'm going to teach you a life lesson while we're out. All right, and chances are, if your dog's really bad, they're going to give you things to work on before you even step out the door, right? Conversations will come up. You just need to be able to identify them. Conversations where the dog's being disrespectful and it's your chance. Every time a dog's disrespectful, you have a window of opportunity to gain respect. But if you let it go, you're just going to dig yourself in a hole. But every time a dog does something disrespectful, if you disagree with it, you're gaining those brownie points, okay? And you're gaining that respect where your dog's going to just listen to you. So you have to see dogs being disrespectful by not listening or doing some other action that's disrespectful. That's your opportunity to gain respect, because that's the only time you can talk to a dog about respect is when they're being disrespectful. Okay? That's the only time. I don't create a respectful dog by necessarily just praising the respectful things, although that's great. You have to correct the disrespectful, so the disrespectful goes down, and by doing that, that's how you get your respect to go up, by taking away the disrespect. So if you think of it like this, like here's the disrespect way up here on a daily basis, the respect's down here. We don't even have to work on saying good to respectful choices necessarily. We can just say no to all these disrespectful choices, and as this goes down, the respect's going up. So you're really trying to work on just seeing those moments where your dog's being disrespectful, disagreeing effectively. Okay, so here we go. Your dog's in the crate. You take them out, you do the potty stuff, and you're going to give them a life experience. Whatever they need. If your dog can't even sit and stay, maybe you're working on that today. Or maybe your dog's a puppy who needs to go explore and learn some stuff, and conversations will come up. Or maybe your dog's on a program and you're going to run them through the program and go throughout your day and deal with what comes up. Whatever you're doing, you're looking to work on your dog. It's not necessarily a training session. It's just you're dedicating time to your dog. This doesn't happen. You let them out and you do half your thing and kind of pay attention to the dog. It's not happening right now. You're putting time into figuring this out. Okay? Now your dog's going to be tired after this. You're going to be tired after this. You know what you're doing? You're not putting them on place. No, you're not. Because that's part of, you can use place as part of the learning experience. It's back to the kennel. The dog's going to go there for hours now. 2-3 hours. Let them process that learning lesson. Do not throw that to waste. If you do not put a dog in a kennel after a learning lesson, or let them relax, and we're going to use the kennel to do that, and you keep adding things onto the day, you let them free, let them play, they're never going to process that information properly, and they're not going to learn as well when it comes to tomorrow. So you give them something to think about, and you put them back in the kennel. Now, if you're really ambitious, you can do another session, but you do not have to. One a day like that. The rest of the time when the dog comes out of the kennel, it's monitored, it's for potties, quick maybe play or something like that. If the dog's bad, back into the kennel. Tomorrow, we're going to go and we're going to do more things, because every day in this process gets your dog better. Every day your dog's getting better. Instead of staying the same or getting worse, we are going to start getting better incrementally every day. Now, tomorrow we take the dog out of the kennel. Now we are informed because of yesterday, the things we need to work on. And hopefully while the dog's in the kennel, you can do your research of how to start working on this stuff. Right? Okay? Don't let your dog does not need to be on place with you, next to you, because that's taking your mental energy, whether you know it or not. You're having to hold them accountable. Do that during the learning experience that you're taking your dog out for in that day. Okay, it can be as long as you want, as long as your brain can handle working with the dog. But I recommend, after having a really good conversation where you think the dog learned something, let them go take a nap in the kennel and sleep on it and soak on it, and they will remember that tenfold, better than if you let them go play and have the rest of the day without thinking about it. And now when they go and relax, they're not even thinking about that lesson anymore. Okay? So that is it every day. That's the secret, and that's what a board and train is. That's what a board and train is. Okay? So let's see here, some questions. Going back to the top. Where'd I get the headphones? Julie, these are Apple headphones. Julie and Jesse got me these for a gift. I have a dog that has bad experience with the kennel. She was from a puppy mill. Yeah. So if they have, you got to get them over that. I've never met a dog that doesn't get over kennel issues if you know how to do it. The help is out there. Okay? So you got to get them good in the kennel. If you want to keep a creature like this in your house, you got to be able to put it in a goddamn kennel. And I'm not saying that to you, but people are so against the kennel. But I'm telling you right now, and it's not always a forever thing, but listen, you need this place where your dog's going, where you can check out and you don't have to worry about the dog's behavior. The dog's only thinking on the lessons you gave it, or sleeping, relaxing, chewing on a bone, whatever, listening to some NPR. You need that. You need that. Don't let this thing be a rug rat, right? Where it's just always around the living room, just getting into shit and mischief, all right? Eventually, dogs get to the point where you're going to notice when it's out of the kennel, there's no need to put it back in the kennel because it's so damn good, right? And I'm not saying don't put it back in there, but my personal dog, Riggins, who's my right-hand man, we have 3, but 2 of them are in the kennel way more than Riggins. Riggins goes upstairs and lives with us and barely is ever in the kennel, right? It depends on where the dog is. You can do a video call by private messaging us, or I think they call it DMs here. Julie will answer that, and she'll set one up. We do Skypes. The Crate's a wonderful tool. It really is. It really, really, really is. And if you learn to use it. So, by the way, guys, relationship, it's everything. And when I feel like my relationship is being tested by my dog, which it was, I'll share a story with you. We just had guests over this weekend. Long story short, Riggins did great. But to dive into the meat of it, I did have to correct him once. Because he was having a little too much fun. He was getting a little too much loving. He was around a couple dogs that were insecure, so he was feeling like the macho man. And the rule that I have with Riggins is this, because I don't micromanage him, but this is it. If I say stop it, stop it. If I say go do this, do this. That's it. That's it. There's no heavy structure in his life really, other than, if we say go lay down, go lay down. If we say stop doing that, stop doing that. If I say relax, relax. Everybody good? Did you guys see that glitch out like that? I think we're back. Are we back? Okay, cool. So, so I had to correct Riggins because he was up on the guests and he was getting excited, and I could see that it's not comfortable at one point or another once you're done petting them. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Cutouts. I think my headset thought I said her name. So it's the second time that's happened to me. So I said, enough, go. And he tried to ignore me. So I said, I apologize about this. And I started walking up to him, and he already knew. So he didn't even, he didn't make me do anything hot and heavy. He walked away, and I stood over him, and with that social pressure, and he pretty much laid down on his side. And I held him there, and I told him to stay over here. I took him away and put him in a down. And as he watched the fun for a little while, let that mind chill, I let him back out. And then he was much calmer. And this is how you teach a dog to cap their arousal as well. You let them play, but then when it gets to a certain point of intensity, you intervene. Now, when you intervene, like people want to know, well, how hard do I punish, or do I punish at all? If I say enough and the dog stops, I'm not punishing them. If I say enough and in that moment they know I just disagreed, how they react immediately afterwards is going to determine how I respond. If they don't listen to me at all, I'm going to go in and correct. Okay? Now listen, if I go in and correct, in that moment when I correct, how the dog responds is going to affect how I respond. If I go to correct you and you try to correct me back, now we're not going to have fun. Okay? Now you're going to get submitted, right? Mentally, at the very least. If I correct the dog and they say, oh, okay, my bad, and they calm down and they relax and they move away, everything's good. So the dogs learn after having a fight or two. Nobody makes me go there anymore. The last time I had to go there with Riggins was years ago. Years ago. He knows. They remember. So he didn't make me go there, but I had to step in and say, remember, right? So that's our relationship. If I let that slide, if I said, hey, enough, and then he didn't listen to me and I let him go, that dog in that situation is going to do that again. And if I let that go a few times and then I try to correct him, he might even try to bite me because he's going to smell some weakness, right? He's going to say, yeah, you're not really, consistent with this. And I'm feeling really good right now. So let's go. That's the kind of dog I have, right? So we have to keep him where he is. And yeah, Siri keeps, I better not say her name. She's going to kick me off. It's the headset. Okay, I'm going to read one more. How do you correct unwanted behavior while in the crate? That's a good question. What's your course of action when handling out corrections? So, we do a board and train here. Okay, for those of you who are new. And so we do off-leash e-collar training. So we do a lot of e-collar work. So our primary tool is the e-collar for corrections. However, aside from that, I like to talk about just dogs in general. When I'm living with dogs, my primary correction is, I use the e-collar for convenience, but I like to do it with the old dog whispering technique. So touches with your hands, social pressure, and then maybe a bonker, a rolled up towel with some rubber bands on it, like the old newspaper. Something more physical so that it's personal. And that helps with the relationship. And then, if I want to get the dog on e-collar, I then have to get the dog operant on e-collar so they understand that it's me and there's no confusion. That way we don't have any wonky stuff going on. And then we're good. And now, all you need is a e-collar, right? The e-collar is the best tool ever once you know how to use it. It's the only tool you ever need. Give me just the e-collar and I could do anything with a dog. But the thing is you don't always have that e-collar on. No collar, no program. That's what we say around here. So I like to know the dog whispering stuff. And so my dogs, here's how it works for me. Relationship. I'm not correcting dogs like, when I live with a dog, it's not like I'm correcting them daily physically, okay? It's happened in the past over certain conversations, and that made my relationship one such that I can say the word no, and the dog takes it seriously, so therefore the dog doesn't get corrections. And just like Riggins, I went in for a physical correction, and he was like, yeah, I'm good. Just me stepping towards him, it was him like, okay, he's gonna fall through. But that's because in the past, I had that same situation. In the past years ago, I actually had to physically correct him. Yeah. And I actually had to apologize to my guests. And because I needed them to know, I can't let him get away with this. And they understood it. And you know what now? Now he knows that I will do that in front of guests. I never have to. I never have to. But the thing is, if he makes me have to, I have to if I want that level of respect. Otherwise, if I let it go, which is easier in the moment, he's going to be harder tomorrow. I need my dogs to I rely on relationship, man. And that's what I really do. So if I see my dog's doing well with me, we're good. If he's pushing me, we're not good. I'm gonna start looking for those conversations that day. You work with fearful dogs. All right, I might have missed part of that. How do you deal with fear? We teach coping skills here because a lot of the fear is the dog doesn't understand something. Like environmental fear. There's environmental fear, and then there's the social awkwardness and fearfulness that we deal with. The environmental fear, we have to teach the dog to stop running away or stop reacting to the world, because the dog doesn't get to see what the world's really doing because they're always either barking or running from it. So we make a dog hold still and watch these things they're afraid of, and you would be surprised. Watch our videos. You'd be surprised how far that goes in teaching a dog that this car that's going straight this way isn't going to hit you when you're right here. They don't know trajectory or anything. These dogs, you do some experiments where you have a dog like that in the middle of a room and you slide a dog bowl across the room. It's obviously not going to hit the dog or anything. It could be a ball or anything, and the dog, you can see, doesn't understand trajectory. They just start panicking. And so you learn a lot of that is what's going on. Build confidence within the commands. Teach them how to navigate through the world in a safe way. And you can really get a dog who's insecure and anxious to a much better place pretty quick, as long as you understand that during in the process. I think what slows a lot of trainers down is they're not willing to use punishment with fearful dogs, because the dog's fearful. Like, you're not gonna, if you treat the dog like it's a fearful dog, it's gonna become, it's gonna be a fearful dog. If you pamper it for being fearful, what you do is you just say, listen, I know you're afraid of cars, let's say, because it could be anything. I know you're afraid of cars. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to ask you to stay in a down. Don't leave the down. Okay? If you leave the down, there's going to be a correction. That's the type of punishment we're talking about. So that you have to have this experience, because I know it's best for you. So they're in a down, and there goes the car, and they want to get up, but the correction that they know is going to come keeps them in the down. So they sit there and they worry, but they see that the car just went by with nothing. No problems. It happens, 20, 50 more times. All of a sudden, you're seeing the dog, after they go through a bunch of panic, like, is this car going to hit me? Eventually they start to calm down, and they start to see that the car is not going to hit them. And we do this day after day until literally the dog does not stress about it anymore. It's called exposure therapy, but you can't do it unless you can control a dog's movements, because the dog will just run away. And the way to control a dog's movements is is command training. And the way to make command training work is to have punishment tied to when you break the command. So yes, punishment is part of it, but you're not punishing a dog for being afraid. Okay, you're just saying just because you're a fearful dog doesn't mean that you can disobey commands. And that's the tough love that gets a dog through it. Okay? Yes, I understand the whole shelter dog thing. If you watched one of my lives a few days ago, it might have been last week, it's a tangent in like a 40-minute video that we do get into talking about shelters. It's pretty good stuff there. So yes, and if they're in a cage too long, like this is it, they can go crazy. They can get crazy and they cannot understand the world and be fearful. So you have to teach them the commands and then take them to the outside world. Use the commands for exposure therapy. Build confidence. It is possible. I use other dogs to help go through cities with these dogs to help them feel confident. It does work, but it's a niche within a niche. You know, it's hard to find people that do that type of work. Okay? I think I got my message out, man, and I'm very happy. We talked about relationship. Listen. If you're sitting here and you're saying you're doing something with your dog, like somebody gave me an example the other day, it's mealtime, okay? You're getting the food ready, the dog's getting anxious. It's okay that the dog gets anxious. That's not the problem. The problem is if you say no and the dog doesn't go and self-regulate and calm down and not whine and perseverate, that's a relationship issue. That you're not getting it all the way. The dog's still kind of like not fully listening. That's what I mean by relationship issues. There's not enough respect, which means there's not enough past experiences, okay, that led the dog to believe they should listen. Now but in this moment where you're saying no and the dog's not listening, that's your opportunity to deal with it there. Right then and there, every time the dog's giving you a problem, if you step in and you deal with it and you come out getting what you want on the other side, that's one of those moments that's giving you those brownie points of respect because disrespect's going down. Okay? You do that for a week, you know, your dog's going to look good in a lot of places, in a lot of areas. It's all about those little conversations. Dogs are gamblers, right? They know that you're not going to do what the trainer did or what dad does or whatever, you know. When I was a kid, my mom would ask me to do something a million times. She'd tell me to stop doing something a million times, all of us, and we did not listen. But as soon as dad's truck pulled in to the driveway, my stomach sunk and I was on my best behavior from the second I heard his door shut. Okay? Relationship. It matters. Thanks for the compliments here. Dale says, I have a foster with a SA crates structure, has been a game changer. At times, though, he would get frantic on leash when coming out, despite the use of thresholds and heel, thinking it's arousal. Yeah, because they want to get out. They're excited to get out. So that's just a little thing to work on. That's like one of those moments. So think of transitions for dogs and toddlers, okay? Transitions from one event to the other are hot ticket moments for when that arousal is going to go up and when stress is going to go up. Become a master at transitioning from one thing to the next. And obviously you're golden, right? But it's all about getting that mind. So the way I look at it, Dale, is like, hey, when you calm your mind down, that's when we come out. But the thing is, that could take like an hour if you sit there and just stand there. So I like to speed the process up with a correction. That's why we teach dogs here to go into the calm state of mind on cue. So if I say, shh, that means I want you to calm down. If you don't calm down, then I can correct you physically. And what's cool is you understand that it means to calm down. It's nothing about your body. It's about your mind. And dogs can do that. That's state of mind training. So here's an easy way. You pretend to open the door. He goes to come out with his nose. You slam the door on his nose. That's it. And then he's going to come back, and you're going to wait a second. You're going to open it up again. He's going to try to go out, and you're going to slam it again. You're not saying anything to him. Third time you go to open that, he's not going to come out. He's going to look at you like what do I do? But the thing is, he's calm. And then you can say, let's go. And then do it tomorrow. And what's going to happen is the dog's going to... He's going to stop rushing out, and he's going to understand that sitting down and calming down. But the fastest way, sometimes it's like you just got to be clear. That's what it's all about, is being clear to the dog. It's like there's nothing more clear than just shutting that door, right? So, and if his nose is in the way, it won't be the next time, right? So it's clear, it's fast, it works like this, and you just keep doing it. And like, guys, I know this stuff isn't easy. Believe me, I know it's not easy. But if we keep getting better every day, that's all what it's all about, just every day. And that's why that kennel is important, because what happens is you can't teach a dog who then goes and parties after every lesson and doesn't do the homework. Put them in the kennel. They need to do their homework. They need to think about what they just went through. That's the only thing I want on their mind after you had a good experience. This is how we help dogs. So every time they're out, they're not really wasting time. They're working on themselves, and they're working on their bond with you in one way or another. And sometimes it feels fun. Sometimes it's on hikes and stuff like this, but deep in your mind, you're still looking at, is this dog being respectful and stuff? And if you want a good, I use the dog whispering stuff. That's how I figured out what's friendly, what's good behavior and what's not. That's where I started. And then you got to look at just like, what do you like and what don't you like? Like, really think about it. I don't like when you come up on me and start like trying to tell me to go get the door, open the door. I don't like that. In fact, I don't like when you try to put pressure on me at all to do things. I want you just to wait for me. And so you can get that from your dog if you understand that's your own expectation. So you need to develop a good high expectation for your dog and start holding them accountable for good behavior. And it will change, but use that kennel. Let's read a couple more. The door trick solves so many crate issues. Yeah, it does. What would you do if your dog wants to run and chase kids? Take him inside to kennel. Well, that's a great question. I'm going to stick on that one real quick. That one's good, from Amber. So one thing I want to make clear is timeout isn't really a great solution for dogs, although what it does is it's management. So if he's chasing the kids, imagine this. Okay, he's chasing the kids, and you're like, shit, dog can't be chasing the kids. Grab the dog, put him in the kennel. You did stop the dog from chasing the kids in that moment. And the dog's in the kennel, and he's probably a fucking mess because he's all amped up now. You know what I mean? That's why you need to be able to correct state of mind errors. Learn about this. Because you can take your dog, and when you learn state of mind training, you can take your dog and say, you can teach them to play with your kids with low energy, and so it doesn't look like that. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. But what if the scenario looked like this? The dog's chasing the kids. You say no. You go over there, you correct the dog. You calm them down. You say, kids, stop for a second. All right? Tell the dog you tell the dog to go, so they get out of the situation. They're away from the kids. Relax. All right, kids, can you start playing again? Good. They start playing. The dog starts getting up to go over there. No. Correct. Right? You're not part of that right now, dog. Now I'm taking my time to have one of those conversations. Listen, you're teaching. It's easy if you break it down. I don't want the dog playing with the kids. Okay? I'm going to go over there and tell the dog not to play with the kids. Now, how the dog behaves after that is how it's going to determine how you're going to deal with it, right? So if the dog just stops going over to the kids, you're good. But if the dog gets up and tries to go back over, this is your moment to follow through. This is the hard part. It takes time. I know you're cooking dinner. I know you got this to do. I know you got that to do. This is why I feel. It's because we're all too busy, right? There's a lot of good parents out there that can do this shit with dogs, even if they have no experience with dogs. They can figure this shit out, but they don't have the time. And I understand that's a real thing, right? But check it out. You're now working with your dog through this, okay? But the better your relationship is, see, this is why if you work on the relationship, if you say no the first time, they listen. They go lay down. You know what I mean? Because they know you'll follow through. So that's just a moment where you can put in the work to get those brownie points. So he'll listen to you not only in that moment, but in the other moments. And then you know what I do? After that experience where you can have the kids playing, and the dog's not going over there, and you let him feel that experience for a little while, once the kids are done or whatever, then go put your dog in the kennel. Now he has something to think about while he's in there. You know what I mean? So, great question. Love when I get to catch these. Hey, Russ, thanks for coming in, brother. It's good to see you. Happy to see you back in the groove. Yeah, the winter took its toll on me, for sure. And I am back. All right. You're normally correcting at a level 8, so on e-collar, and the dog is still not complying. Walking away to a calmer state of mind. Oh, okay, he's not complying and he's not walking away with it. Okay. Then what level would you do to follow and make it clear? Okay, so the way, if your dog has to understand that that's what the stim means. And it's kind of partially my fault because I've been really hesitant on covering this kind of stuff because I know why I'm hesitant? Because I don't want people to try it at home. And it's not because it won't work. It will work. It's because there's so much finesse. If you don't see it done, you know, we're playing behavioralist over here. We are not. This is not easy to get a dog to understand the e-collar the way that we get a dog to understand the e-collar with the state of mind training. Okay, so there's a process, there's a ritual first that I do with the dog so that they understand that I'm correcting them for their mind and I'm correcting them for elevation, and that calmness is what I'm looking for. Once the dog understands that, that means they're operant to this. Okay, so let's say your dog does understand this. They understand that when they're doing something wrong, if you say no on the e-collar, boom, okay, it's because I did that behavior. I'll stop doing that behavior. They also understand that if I go shh and start tapping at a low level on the e-collar, they start to relax. If they refuse to relax, at the end of the process, by the way, I could correct heavier and that'll produce them to relax. If they don't though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ditch the e-collar for a second because I need to go back to my relationship. I'm going to have the e-collar in my hand, but I'm going to walk up to the dog with social pressure. Hey, relax, just like anybody would. Relax. And after I say that, what does the dog do? You got to watch. Do they start trying to relax? If they do, I'm not going to punish that dog. I might still have that low e-collar pressure, but that's not punishing. That's just reminding, right? But if the dog's like, I'm not trying anything, I might go up to something mildly higher. But if the dog does something really disrespectful, then that's going to be a firmer correction. Maybe we have to have a fight. Maybe this dog's going to strike at me or something. You never know. But if your dog's already passed that process, you should be able to correct higher and use your body language and your social pressure to relax them. And the relax them isn't, if he walks away and lays down, that's okay, calm. But a dog who's pacing does not have a calm mind. Okay, that means you don't know what the real calm state of mind looks like. They're so calm that they're not doing much. Okay, they're holding still. Okay, so if he's walking around after a correction, you need to follow through. So you need a moment of at least some type of submission to the situation where the dog gives it up and is relaxed, and then they can get back up. At least that. But what you do not want to see, and what people do, is you correct the dog for doing a bad behavior, and then the dog walks away. Because they're just going to walk away with, just walk away from the situation doesn't mean that they submitted to it. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to do it tomorrow. You need to find what the dog's struggling with. Say it's the door. Somebody knocks at the door and the dog's going crazy. I'm going to correct the dog, and I'm also going to follow through, which means the dog's mind submits to the fact that they're not going up to the door. I don't let them go away from the situation. I don't let them walk away from me. No, I'm still talking to you. I'm looking for you to say, fine, I'm not going to do that. I'm not looking for you to walk away from me while I'm talking to you. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. And that's why I use these words like conversation, because that's what we're doing with a dog. We're keeping them in conversations. And dogs come here programmed to ignore for 5-10 minutes while you're talking to them, because that's what the owners have created. They've trained them to just kind of go into this I can't hear you kind of mode, and it fools the owners to think that the dog doesn't understand what it's saying, but it does. But as soon as you tie relevant consequences for like not trying, the dog starts giving you answers real quick, right? So you don't want, your dog should not be walking away from you when you're trying to punish it. That's what I think. I think it should sit there and have that conversation with you, and then when you're ready for it to walk away, you tell it to go away, right? And so watch Cesar Millan. Watch him when he starts a conversation with a dog. Watch him. He doesn't let the dog leave that conversation unless he's asking the dog to leave the situation, unless he's saying, I need you to leave right now, which sometimes he is doing. The dog walks away. That's a good thing. But if you're trying to really use social pressure on your dog and say, calm down, like all the way, you're looking it in the eyes, You're looking it in the eyes. And you're going from there. If I say lay down and give you a low level stim, what do you do after I give a low level stim? If you try to relax, then we're good. I'm going to keep in that low level stuff. If you're not trying, I'm going to go a little higher. As soon as you're trying, I'm going to go a little lower to train your brain. When you're trying, there is no punishment. When you're not trying, that's when you get punished, okay? That's the big secret here too. People think it's just like if I ask a dog to sit and they're new to the command, if they're trying but can't figure it out, they are never receiving punishment. They never will. They never will. Not from me. It's when a dog has attitude and a dog says, I don't want to try, I don't care about this, that attitude gets punished. And you can do that. Dogs understand this. People are stuck on like it has to be a behavior, like the dog has to like go do a bad behavior to get a physical correction. No. If the dog's not trying, you can say, hey, come on, try something. Work with me here. And the dog will work with you. And then you can reward them working with you by being soft with them and saying, yes, I like that. I like that. You see me do it in the videos all the time. I like that you're working with me. It's not so much I care about the sit. It's more that you're trying to learn from me. You're trying to pick up this really easy thing I'm trying to tell you to do. And if you're trying, it just turns out that you can learn it really freaking fast, okay? But I don't want to have to go get a piece of food or a toy to bribe you into this. I want you to listen to me just because I asked. I'm not going to be silly and go add food and shit, because then our relationship's fucked, right? Because as soon as I don't have the cool stuff, I'm not the cool kid anymore with all the nice toys and candy, you don't want to hang out with me, right? So I think I've went on long enough. I've rambled. I've gotten off topic, which I know you guys love. We talked about relationships. We talked about dogs gambling based off your past experiences. What are the odds that you're going to do something about this? And what are the odds it's going to be something I care about? That's why they treat people differently, okay? Listen better for some people than others. And then we talked about using the crate to create a default day where the dog's in the crate when you're not doing something with it. And when you are doing something with it, it's productive towards its behavior and your relationship, okay? And that it doesn't take all day. So you can have an hour or two experience with your dog, and you can put them in the crate for a few hours. You need it too. Eventually the dog's going to be so well behaved, it's never in the crate because you're so easy to live with, right? But in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of crate time, because when he's not in the crate, he's learning. And when he's not learning, he's in there thinking about what he's learning, which is his homework, because he needs to be better, or she needs to be better, okay? All right, guys. There's going to be another one tomorrow. Not sure what we're going to talk about, so if you want to get in on leaving some comments and questions on what we're going to talk about in these future lives, that's always nice. Stranger danger. Is this a fixable problem? Love all the info you post. It's so helpful. Yes, stranger danger. Let's talk about fixable. Here's what you can do. There's different types of training. And I am going to stay on here, but just know if you guys, I'm going to hang on here for those who want to chat for a moment, because I do got a few minutes. Everybody else who's got to go, thank you for joining in. Okay, so stranger danger. Is this a fixable problem? There's two ways to handle this. And I'm just going to give you the industry, what I see. This is how I see people dealing with it. There actually might be three ways of dealing with it, but so you can actually change the way a dog feels about a stranger. Yes, you can. If you have the resources and the dedication and the time, you can. And here's how I want you to think about it so that you can have a clear idea of how it can be done. The dog's in its living room, it's in its den, it's in its house, all right, where it feels most protective. So of course, if a stranger comes to the door, that's probably where they're going to be the worst, right? So let's use that scenario. Knock, knock, knock. That means stranger already, because the dog has any experience. That's where strangers come, right? Now the dog's defensive, and then you open the door, and of course the dog's defensive for it, whatever that looks like. Now that's because the dog sees that as an intruder. And some dogs are born with this disposition, okay? So like a shepherd is more likely to have this disposition than a lab, okay? Because especially German shepherds, this is more of their disposition. A lab's going to see a stranger as a play toy, right? They're going to see strangers naturally. And this isn't every lab, obviously. These are all generalizations to help you understand how this is working. But a lab could see a stranger and literally think that, I don't know you, but you're fun. So it's a problem. What the problem is how the dog views strangers. So what if you made the dog view that knock on the door and that stranger coming in? What if you changed it from being like, that's a criminal trying to break into my house, to that's the pizza delivery guy who always gives me pizza, right? So basically, do you have the resources to do this? What you could do, and it works to some degree, but I do a little bit of this mixed with other things too, because every dog has their limitations. Certain dogs you can if it's just puppy stuff, this will go a long ways. So what you do is you have a stranger come to the door. The dog's like, I'm concerned about the stranger. They open the door. They drop a piece of food that the dog loves but never gets any other time of its life, and then leaves. And then, a couple minutes later, another person knocks on the door. They open the door, hey, how you doing? They just throw it a piece of meat, like not at it, but to the side of it, so there's no pressure on the dog to be pet or anything. You do this 10 times, right? Like this day, what you're going to imagine is that knock on the door is going to start producing curiosity instead of concern. And those are the two C's that you see the divide. Like, is the dog more concerned or more curious? And we always like curious, but concerned, that leads to tension and that leads to problems. You're going to see curiosity take over. They're going to start using their nose more. You do this, like I said, do you have the resources? God knows I don't. To do it again with another 10 strangers, can it be done? Yeah, sure. Some dogs have limitations. What do? You do some of that, but then you also, what I do is we get the dog trained up to a high level of on the e-collar, so that we can control the movements and we can control the mind, so that we can shape the way the dog feels about things. So another layer of safety there is like, stranger comes in the door, the dog knows not to do A, B, and C, because those are off limits. So no barking, no charging, no going up to the door. We basically tell the dog, this event has nothing to do with you anymore. Okay, I want to be in control of whether I like somebody coming in the door or not. And if I'm okay with them, then you're okay with them. And that's what we want to teach the dog. And then that goes back to relationships. So it actually does tie into what we're talking today. It's all about that relationship. My dog knows that if he's concerned, he's giving me a little warning, somebody's coming down the driveway that he doesn't recognize, I appreciate that. Thank you. But as soon as I'm going to decide how I feel about the person. So as soon as they're at the door, I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to hear from you. I know they're here. That's what the knock was for. I know. Now, I'm going to decide whether this person comes in or not. Now, if this person starts trying to, they crack open the door and they start rushing in, yeah, go bite them, Riggs. Go for it. They're not going to, though. That never happens, right? What's going to happen? It's going to be one of my friends or family or male or something. And if I don't look concerned, you're not concerned, okay? I'm the judge, not you, right? That if you change the way a dog thinks, you change the way they behave, and all this is possible. But they are very unique skills to find and to learn, and I encourage everybody to learn as much as possible. I start these lives at 8 a.m. We're almost an hour in. I know Tom Davis not personally though. I would absolutely recommend watching his stuff. I do watch his stuff actually, from time to time. I like what he does because I'm from upstate New York too, so I was aware of him. This is exactly why I don't introduce an e-collar. Didn't introduce an e-collar to Kesha prior to your training. Thank you. I really do appreciate that, Maria. It does help. So your dogs understand it so well. I've seen so many dogs from other training programs who didn't understand the tool. Yeah, and that's what we preach because it does happen. Okay, from Russ here, Calm Canine Training. And by the way, if you're on here and you're an owner and you see other training companies on here, I would follow them all. Go and check out their pages because they're all very good and they all know what they're doing. And we just have a tight community here. Do you think proper social pressure is something that any average owner can learn and communicate with their dog? You know what? I really think that most people can. I really think that we already use it with people, and that if we just learned a little bit more about, people have to see it done. So what I notice is if you're in their living room and they see you a handful of times do this, or they're watching videos of you, then they have a reference of what to be kind of mimicking and like go by what the energy look like and all this. And if you don't have that, obviously, I'm going to say Cesar Millan again, his old stuff. Of course I'm going to say that. I think a lot of people can, man. What it comes down to is your character. Some people aren't designed to lead other living things. They're not designed to lead them. They might be designed to nurture them, but they don't have it in them to punish physically. I mean, they might have it in them to defend themselves if they were being harmed, but maybe after a few, really have to be harmed. But just like a dog, there's certain dogs that just will not bite. They will not bite. You understand? And there's other dogs that will bite over the simplest things, right? So I think people are like that too. There's biting dogs, there's biting people. There's dogs that don't bite, there's people that don't bite. I think where the problem is if you get a person who doesn't bite trying to deal with a dog that does bite, that's where you're going to have a problem. But if you get a person that bites, they can deal with a dog that doesn't bite, and they can deal with a dog that bites. You know what I mean? More than likely, They have the right temperament. and mentality that they can learn the skills to do so. But if you're just an animal who does not have that in you, from an animal standpoint, you know, they're out there. They're out there. But I noticed that, you know, most people do have it in them. They do, somewhere. You just got to find it. Okay? All right, guys, I'm going to go have some breakfast. And I'm going to make sure that I didn't miss any questions. I didn't? Awesome. I'm really happy to see everybody here. Awesome work. By the way, Ranger Danger, I read your comment yesterday and how you were thinking through it. And so if anyone's having trouble getting their dog off from place and going for mealtime, that dog can oftentimes, when they know you're making the meal, you say break, the dog will run from the bed, and it's really annoying, all the way across the house. So she thought of taking the dog to watch her, you know, in commands from into a down, while she's doing the food. And that way she's able to work on his anxiety with the food, disagreeing if he starts to get anxious. And then also she can heal him to wherever he's going to be eating. And there's always calmness. So there's not this burst of energy right before. And that's genius because it's taking away that burst of energy that's associated with mealtime if she keeps doing it. And you can actually change the dog that way. And it is work and it is all this stuff. But that's how you know you're doing well, when you're thinking that way. You're fine. You know, you're going to be fine. But it is going to be work because these dogs aren't easy. But good luck. Good job. Relationship is everything. Remember that. And then remember the way I taught you how to create your days. Use that crate so in between these life lessons, okay? And when your dog's at that next level, you can use place too for those naps. But there's nothing like the crate when you first get started, okay, guys? Really appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow.